Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your girl Amaya Design, of course, Jamal. What's going on, boo?
It's just another lovely day in solitude. You know how it
Listen,
is.
Tuesday is feeling a lot like Monday, but I digress.
It really is though. And Monday felt like a holiday almost.
I don't know what it felt like, but I'm not here for it. But what I am here for is season 2 of Harlem, which
You here
is,
for it?
yes, it's back February 3rd on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Um, I'm excited. You're excited. We've seen it.
Yes, we have.
We've got a few choice words for it. So we're going to dive in.
We have
So,
opinions.
yes, we did. So, the end of season 1, we ended up leaving off with Camille kissing Ian, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Ty's estranged husband showing up. Quinn asking Isabella out on her first queer date, and Angie being fired essentially because she fired herself when she wrote the letter for Get Out. So let's dive in. So of course we'll start with Camille. So Mira catches them, and she's almost going to act as if she don't see them kissing. I was a little shocked at this kind of weird expression, but also like, oh, okay, that's different because I don't think we've ever seen something like that. I feel like we've seen the immediate pop off,
Exactly.
to getting to that. So this is the opening scene. What are your feels about it?
I, for certain, thought she was going to throw the biggest, excuse my language, bitch fit. Because that's what I would have done. That's what anyone, I think, would have necessarily done to see someone that they're about to take vows before their family and friends in less than 24 hours kissing somebody else. That's what I think they would do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And to see her like, oh, Cheria, like, who is doing all of that?
Right.
Not I. So,
well, I mean, I think it goes into what's that? What we call
denial.
Yes, there we go. Denial, right? Because she, of course, not the day before. Like, come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because she does say something that catches me off guard, which is that this is the second time I saw you guys kissing, and the first time I figured it was a fluke. Old flame, he's back in town, whatever. But this is ridiculous. So Mira goes on to read Camille for filth. I mean, for filth, for real. Ian basically saying, laughing, trying to make a joke of it. I didn't like this part because I really disliked that Ian was going to like override that it actually even happened, which was weird.
Exactly.
But so we have that happening, and then of course we also saw that Camille got drunk and quit her job. So now she's going back to, apologize Dr. Lewis to say like, hey, Dr. Pruitt, my bad. That hey, I was a little drunk. This is after having that conversation with Quinn, no backsies, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So what I will say is that right off the bat, I feel like the characters seem immature than they did in season 1. What do you feel?
I think that it is a little bit of immaturity, but I think for what it's worth, because they've taken things so serious prior to and have not had time to actually enjoy the moment, it's kind of one of those situations like, okay, you acting like a child, but I'm gonna let you slide because you had it rough just a couple of minutes ago, so I'll let you go.
I think they were being funny, but it was weird funny to me, and I was like, what? No backsies? Like, y'all in your 30s. When did the last time that we used no backsies? But I digress. So
never.
She basically tells Dr. Pruitt, hey, like, I need my job back. I apologize. I want a backseat. I was a little tipsy or whatever. And of course, Dr. Pruitt is like, listen, I'll think about it. And then we also have a little bit of selfish Camille, which is her coming out after the whole blow up with Ian and Mira and basically like crying while Quinn is really excited, getting ready to talk about her 73 questions interview with Vogue. Now, I don't know whether or not people will agree, but I just felt a little bit like Camille somehow can make things about her in wrong moments. I'm not calling her selfish all the time, but the wrong moment, she can be selfish.
Absolutely. And I think that comes with knowing your friends and knowing how to read the room. But sometimes you do have those friends that they can't hold back.
Right.
Some people don't. I am that friend that does not have a poker face. However, I also know how to be in the moment and enjoy my friend's celebration and celebrate my friend with them. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think also we all should be a little selfish with our feelings and ourselves sometimes. But Camille definitely does a little bit too much.
Yeah, wrong time, wrong place for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to one of our favorite people, Ty. Right, Ty. We see the continuation of the divorce, and she is livid. Initially, it's just that the husband Brandon was not leaving, and so she assumed that it was about money. He said, "Well, if it's about money."
Let's make it about money.
About money. And so we see her talking about this to the girls at brunch, and she also mentions that Brandon says, you don't have any love in your life, no stability, no real commitment. And she brings this up to the girls, and the girls kind of give her that, oh yeah, nah, and so I felt like they was agreeing with him, but they tried to lie and say that they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
We see her go to the dog shop and play with this dog, really kind of bond with this dog, and then essentially be like, you know what? Yeah, nah, like I'm gonna just leave you right here. And so that goes into like her lack of commitment and wanting to care for something other than herself. So
yeah.
What are your initial thoughts when we come back to Ty in episode 1?
It's Kai. I mean, not Kai. It's Ty only child. Is Ty is Ty like do we ignore the same things that we villainize Camille for that Ty does? Because Ty is very selfish in that same regard. The only difference is she is not so much as, how can I put this? She's not as selfish because she takes time for that person to have their moment. But Ty is just, I just have questions like, what's going on in your past? Do you need a hug? Who hurt you? Like that, because it just, I would understand the reason for her being so guarded and her having so much of a detachment from vulnerability, from feelings, from all of those things that don't exist outside of her friend group or her business. And that's the point that I think Brandon was making. She doesn't have any sustainable love in her life. And
we see that
sometimes it comes true.
Right. And we see that when she gets to the toy shop with Quinn, remember? Because Quinn is bringing it up, but she instantly changes the subject, not to mention they're talking in front of a really big dildo. Nonetheless, it was just, I think that, avoidance would be her thing. So we have Camille as inappropriate, like selfishness, and then we have Ty as whatever I just said, because clearly my brain does not want to work right now.
Relevant selfishness.
So of course Quinn is doing the most. That's what I wrote in my notes. Doing the most, right? She's asked Isabella out on this first date, and
she's doing the most. Ain't no it's just that. She's just doing the goddamn most.
All the stops, she's got the 5-star Michelin chef,
private chef.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. And is this everything gay? This is everything gay episode. Like the gay
irritates me so bad.
It's so irritating. Like, I saw that this was the hottest gay spot to come. So it's like everything is gay. And I remember you saying when we initially did our first review that's like the number one mistake, right? To do.
Don't fall head in. Like, I understand you've arrived to this now newfound sense of self. Pause. I just want to let all of you know, I just want to apologize. My dog is, he's a puppy. He's teething. So if you hear a little, that's just him. But what I will say is this, that, when you arrive at this new sense of self, it is, of course, we're all intrigued. We all want to know. We all want to research. We all want to be informed. But it's also a part of keeping it cool. Like, you don't have, it's like you announce you're gay and then the next thing you know, your entire outfit and wardrobe is rainbow. Like, no, it does. Life does not work like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just cardinal mistakes. Cardinal mistakes. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, she was really just trying to impress Isabella. She goes to the sex store, spends $3,000. First of all, ma'am,
I thought it was 4.
well, maybe it was $4,000, but needless to say, $3,000 or $4,000 in a sex store is inappropriate and absurd. I can do a lot more with that $4,000 you just spent on some sex toys. I ain't having that much sex in the world to be.
Well,
buying.
we could.
That's, but we digress. We digress. So, nonetheless, of course, we see that she buys all this stuff, and Isabella is like, "You got all this for me? Like, what's happening?" And she was like, "It's okay. Like, I just wanted it to be a really good night, and I wanted to be special." And Isabella ends up taking the lead. So I thought that was cool and cute. But it does really give off the vibes that we kind of talked about in season 1, which is Quinn needy? Like, she's moving so fast and so hastily into these situationships or relationships or these dating spaces that it just makes you wonder a little bit. So of course, to your favorite person and my she's still growing on me person is Angie. Last we saw, she had sent the letter in or sent something in, and Get Out the musical gets canceled, and Eric is now questions. Eric is now mad at her because he has no income. And so they kind of sort of break up, and let's be clear, okay? Angie shows up with Plan B in this episode, okay? And also with snacks of some sort. And so Eric, this is not enough, okay? Like, because this is crazy and a little bit wild. But yeah, she is just like really going around the rosies here as far as not having stable income, still being on Quinn's couch, still essentially at this point kind of like just having sex with multiple people, because she does that when the girls leave from brunch and she gets her fake tarot reading, right? Or a psychic, the homeless guy or the less fortunate guy says, you're gonna make love to the sexiest man in New York and all will be right with the world. And of course she's literal. So she ends up sleeping with the masseuse. Then she comes out and she's like, "Oh, you've got a roommate," and she tells the roommate about a twin that does not exist, and ends up sleeping with the roommate later on. So it's a lot, and I just feel like as the only dark-skinned woman in the show, I don't appreciate how they've really made her character, and that's one thing that I just don't like. For me, that it's just bad vibes. But what are your thoughts? Because you've loved her since season 1.
I do. I have, and I do, and my sister does too. And I love Angie because of her freeness that she has about herself. She balls to the wall, give a damn who says what and what they feel, because I'm living my life. What I will say is I get what you mean, because it's like, out of her being a darker skinned girl, they did not have to make a caricature out of her character. And that's kind of what they've done. But Angie is just, she, how can I put this? She's fine. She's on that path to finding herself. I mean, we've seen in season 1, she had everything going for herself, and then shit went left, and that's how she ended up where she is now. But, even though she's 30 now, that doesn't mean that at any certain age you have found yourself. You're still finding your way. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, her sleeping with the Instagram models, just gonna keep it real because that's what the first place I saw them. Her sleeping with the Instagram models, back to back, was hilarious to me. Even when she told old boy, "I don't have no damn twin,"
Right. Like, better, because they were basically saying that, "Oh, you finer than your sister." I was like, son, what are you doing? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? She made it work for her. The only thing
The only difference is I think Angie sells herself short, where she needs to be taking her own advice that she gives Quinn and the rest of the girls all the time. So, and I still got hope for you, Angie girl. I still got hope.
Listen, you keep that hope. So we're ending out episode 1 with Jameson. He's been looking for Camille. Camille has been essentially like, ignoring him. She ends up going back over to Dr. Pruitt saying like, hey, I actually am gonna quit, but I'll finish out the rest of my semester and then I'll leave. And Dr. Pruitt acknowledges that. So she's heading back home now, and she runs into Jameson because he's there waiting for her. And he's telling her, hey, I'm not leaving for Chicago anymore. I'm staying for New York. And you can tell in her face that she is not with the shit. She's very like caught off guard. But do we expect anything less, considering that she just had this whole thing with Ian? Like, she obviously has to have a conversation with Jameson.
Right. I don't expect anything less. If anything, I thought that would be I was expecting her to, how about this, have some accountability in the moment and not flip it on to someone else.
Yeah.
But it's to say something. But he just like, you've been avoiding me all day. I have all this great news. And it's like, you know how that joke, you could, a person can ruin a wet dream. That was, if ruining a wet dream was in person, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like your man's so happy and you just come with like,
the dreariness. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I get
that
it.
Which leads us into episode 2.
But before we leave episode 2, I would like to say that I hope that no real plants were harmed in the making. Because Ty really killed quite a few, for sure.
Yes, she does not have a green thumb.
Listen, so logging in with Ty, we're gonna go with the She Be Toxic, right? So the girls are back to having brunch again, and Ty realizes that she's on SheBeToxic.com, listed as one of the most toxic women to be dating in Harlem. And second best on there is Zoe, and an honorable mention, Camille. So Ty is thrown off, like, what the hell is happening? And she realized that all the women that she slept with or dated, and they've had some bad to say about her, they put it on SheBeToxic.com. And Camille also is listed only once as SheBeToxic.com. So they're trying to figure out, like, what the hell, like, why is this happening? And and as Ty is reading things, or actually Camille is reading things off that have happened, and they're like, oh, this is not true, and Ty's giving the face like it totally is true. I will expect nothing less from Ty. However, what she does next, I didn't expect, which was she seeks out Zoe. She figures Zoe is around here breaking hearts, and why not? Let's just do this thing together where I don't have to break your heart, because you know what it is and I know what it is, and we can just keep it moving. So is anything about this shocking you in any sort of way when it comes to Ty?
No, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because that is the Triple F move of it. Find them, fucking forget them. And in this option, she's not trying to forget Zoe. She's just like, hey, whenever the spirit moves you and you're available and I'm available, let's be available together and do some things that make us unavailable to others. And I respect it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't it is self-preservation for your heart, for your feelings, because it's like, how everybody always talk about something. Oh, I got me a little F buddy. I got me a little joint.
Right.
Guilty. When you already set up the with the parameters of your situation, is you don't make room. There is no room for you to be hurt, because you know what it is going into it. So it's just like, you don't have any expectations to be let down. So you don't have anything to live up to. You just show up, handle your business. I'll holler at you later when we both ready. And that's just what it is. So I'm for it. Listen,
I'm not like those situations. I just thought that it wasn't something that I expected to see, but I'm not shocked either. You know what I mean? Because this is Ty we're talking about. So of course now
Absolutely.
let's go back over to Quinn, and of course her and Isabella are really enjoying themselves. They're having fun, but again, still Quinn is doing a whole lot. And at the
Quinn is
end,
quitting.
Quinn is quitting. So at the end of one of their dates, basically Isabella is telling her she can't go up. Now let's remember and put this into context that Isabella is still running for office. Okay, so she's a very busy woman, and so she's telling Quinn like, "Hey, I can't come upstairs tonight because I got
meeting in the morning and
meeting in
all
the
of this stuff.
morning. I got a brunching and all these things. I got to shake hands essentially." And
I
Quinn
got
is
shit
like,
to do.
right, and at first Quinn is like, "Did I do something wrong?" And Isabella then breaks down why she can't stay. But afterhand, Isabella says, "Well, I just wanted you to spend more time with me." Well, okay, Quinn says that because she wants her to stay. And it says, "Well, now that you're my girlfriend." And Isabella's like, "Well, we're just having fun. We just got here. Like, what's happening? Like Swole Nelly type of situation." What are your thoughts? Because I'm not surprised, but essentially at the end of this is a breakup, and Quinn ends up crying.
But is it a breakup? Because a breakup means that there's a relationship. A relationship means that two people have agreed to be in a committed situation, and that is not what we have. And so this, as sad as it is actually very humorous to me because of the fact that Isabella definitely hit your girl with like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute.
She did.
Who said a relationship?
Her hands go and everything.
She was like, oh, she's like, nah, this ain't no relationship. We just chilling, which is what it is. And that is another cardinal issue that I have with this situation with Quinn. Because my thing is, like I said, okay, this is a new life for you. Cool. But just because it's a new life for you does not mean you have to dive in like Trey Songz. It does not mean that you have to be so engulfed with it that you're taking everything so serious and so literal. Because think about it, with Arnez, I'm gonna call him. I can't think of his name to save my life right now. Sean, there we go. With Sean, you was smashing Sean off the first date, and that wasn't your boyfriend. And you was cool with it then, but it was and she really liked him, but there was a different situation with Isabella. Right.
No, and then she went in with Sean specifically and intentionally. She was like, "I'm not going to get caught up. I'm not going to get deep." She was very intentional about that. Whereas with Quinn, she wanted something more with Quinn.
She is Quinn.
Felt those with Isabella. Feeling something different than she felt with Sean. Try all these names. It's after hours.
Exactly. No, but you're right. You're right. But at the same time, though, you still don't do that even in heterosexual relationships. Like, come on now, you're not about to be like looking at China patterns tomorrow after going out with a guy for one day. Like, get out of here. So,
I'm done with you, sir.
Like, I mean, it's the truth though. But like I said, it's one of those cardinal issues that we see all the time in these new relationships or new situationships where it's just like, oh, you like this person so much, you're making your situation into something bigger than it actually is. And you're not reading the room.
Yeah, but
and knowing what it is.
Having a conversation, just ask the question. A lot of people will be saved the heartache if you go in and you're actually dating, which it seems like they were doing. I feel like Quinn could have asked a question. Hey, what direction are we going in? What do you want? Whatever the case is, but don't assume, never assume, because as our parents like to say, you make an ass
out of you and me. I mean, the girl gave her 8 orgasms. I think in between one of those, I would have been like, hey, listen, you my girl or not? Because if you're not, you need to be more.
You need to suck, apparently.
I'm just saying.
Well, Quinn. So of course now we go over to Angie, and Angie admits to sleeping with the masseuse's roommate and the roommate's cousin. And like I said, it just seems like a lot. I'm not knocking it. I just feel like they shortchange Angie's character. They shortchange who she is by making her so promiscuous. I don't think that it's necessary. I feel like it was just filler at that point, and I wanted more substance, especially because we had that back in season 1. So it's like, give me more. that's just my personal preference.
Okay, Brittany.
And then she meets Marcus, right?
Marcus, darling.
So she meets Marcus in the grocery store, and
yes.
ends up touching hands, locking eyes, and she ends up going back to his place. They don't have sex on the first date, thank you. Oh God. And then they end up going out. She's like, "This is your house. All this is your house." And eventually, they do have sex, but we don't know that they have sex until she meets with the girls to talk about the micro penis.
Harlem stroke.
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of that.
Me either.
But it is funny when you say it though. But yeah, like, first of all, I guess because I have never. Well, I have once, and it's and they be having the same ego, like, girl, all this that I'm about to give you, and you be like, what? All of what? You giving me all of what? Explain it to me.
All of heat, because you're doing the most and I'm not feeling anything. Please get up off of me.
It's really just hip, because it ain't really nothing else. Like,
and you're hurting me because your pelvic bone is hitting my pelvic bone.
It's like rug burn.
No, baby, there is a difference. I have had it.
Rug burn is.
There is a difference.
Listen, I just feel like I wasn't.
And funny enough, I actually have had it with someone similar to that character.
Oh my. I got caught up for a second right there. It was sitting in my throat. Pause. So nonetheless, she tells the girls that he's got micro penis and that he be talking a big game, but he can't match it. And not only does he talk a big game, but the next time they in the bedroom, my man refers to her as macro pussy. Ooh.
Large and in charge.
Yikes. I mean, me personally, I would not want to be called macro pussy. I'm just saying.
I mean, some guys like a fat box, some girls like a fat box.
But I feel like when he's saying macro, he means that as in no walls.
This is true. However, I think because he was so quick with it, that's not the first time he has heard that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's not. Like, of course not. Like, that would be crazy to think that it is. But needless to say,
here's my thing, though. Hold on, I'm sorry, and I do not mean to cut you off.
No,
here's my thing. Being the only one with the penis that's on this right now, you can feel when you're in something. I mean, there is a difference between a thigh and vaginal walls.
Yeah, because what was it rubbing on? Exactly. Like, what was it in? It wasn't in anything. It was
because she ain't feel it. Even if he was like rubbing up against the clit, at least she would have felt like, ooh, she might have had like a little oops on my moment, but she ain't feel nothing. So I'm gathering it was thigh meat.
That's trash.
Rubbed up against the penis.
Thigh meat is not wet.
Thigh meat is the thigh.
Exactly, it's not wet. So how could he not know he was not in the wetness?
Maybe there is pre-cum.
He was invested.
There is a thing. I'm trying to say.
No, I'm hip, but he was turned on and into his own wetness.
He might have been that worked up that he couldn't. Because here's the thing, we don't know unless there's some guys that ejaculate. Okay, so fans, this is a little science, a little history. I mean, it's a little sex education. There are some guys that will premature ejaculate and say, "Oh, that's just pre-cum." No, nigga, you're nutting. It's okay. You're having it's happening, and they will try to work it back up so they can have the full situation. But when you actually have real pre-cum, you don't feel until you feel like if you know. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all we're gonna say. We're gonna keep it moving because we're gonna go over to your girl Camille. So now oh child, there's so much happening with Camille. So Ian shows up at Camille's school in her class and whatnot.
Not yet. Not yet.
What's before
Because she
that?
ain't broke it off. Because she didn't broke. So here's the thing. She didn't break it off with Jameson yet. So even though she's so reserved at the end, because see, we went into Ty, we didn't talk about Camille. Camille,
episode 2. Remember?
But in the beginning is when she breaks up with them.
Right. Oh well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna get to that, but I mean,
oh yeah.
By all means, you could, you can happen on that. So
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Jameson and Camille do have a conversation. Child, these names is killing me. So
many.
So basically, he asked her, "Do you want me to stay or do you want me to go?" And she pauses. And pause is an answer. Okay, pause is a no most of the time. And so she paused, and Jameson said, "Note taken." Right.
I got my answer.
Dumps the bottle that he was going to use to celebrate, and he walks off. And so this is when, after that, of course, Camille feels bad, but I feel like she handled that like trash, because you were avoiding Jameson the whole time, and then you don't even have the decency to say like, this is what it is. So needless to say, Ian shows up at her class. They go back to her apartment. They sit down and talk. Ian is like, well, how did it go with the breakup? And she's like, well, he practically broke up with me. She didn't say anything. Well, I didn't have to say anything because he said it all. And that was that. And so he's like, well, you didn't tell him that we were back together? And she's like, whoa, what do you mean back together? Like, exactly. This goes back to what you were saying earlier about having those conversations and instead of assuming. And so she goes, wait, we haven't really talked about it. Needless to say that there's no need to put salt in a wound when we're breaking up, that's not the time to do that. And so he gets upset and basically is like, well, I broke up a whole wedding for you. They go on this little rant and argument. What are you thinking in this scene right here when all this is happening?
I'm gonna be honest with you, as much as a lot of people love to fawn over him, Ian is a bitch. And I said this the last season, because he has all the good intentions, but the wrong follow through. And I said that last season. And also the same issue that Camille has with accountability, so does him, because he wants to make her the villain, but not take accountability into his part that he played with fucking up the plan. Because it's like, you two knew that I'm not the only one guilty here, but you're putting it all on me. Like, I think that their relationship is something that is going to need work. That's all I can say, because it became too much for me at that part, because he did the normal deflection that we see in our toxic couples, where it's like, I'm only going to blame you. I'm not going to take part.
Right.
I'm going to blame you for the reason why I did this.
Yeah, and he does that, and then he does what he is going to be doing a lot, which is walking out. So he leaves, and then basically they don't really speak, and she says she's giving him time to cool off and XYZ, and then she decides to show up to his job towards the end of the episode, and basically confesses, takes accountability for her shit. But then he also admits and takes responsibility for his shit, which is like, I knew 6 months ago that I didn't want to marry that girl, and yet I went through with it. And I feel like that's so sad, because it happens more often than we realize, with people just going into marriage because time is up, or they feel like time is up, and they feel like the next chapter is upon them. So I definitely feel like that was unfortunate, but it was something that I'm glad that they said that he said that they had that conversation, because it needs to be discussed and talked about. I feel like Black Twitter is definitely going to have a field day with that when it comes out.
I'm going to be watching, because that's the thing that pisses me off the most too. And as being someone who went down that same very road, you get that, that feeling. Like, it ain't feeling like it should be. It's not natural. I should be happy. I'm dreading it.
I agree. I have no
And
idea.
he was getting butterflies saying Camille more than he was saying Mirror.
And it happens. And I think the thing is that people expect people. I feel like sometimes society has taught us that we're not supposed to feel butterflies, like that the butterflies are bad in a way, because remember, in this instance, what I mean by that is it's just temporary. Like that's just because that's your past. You see what I'm saying? Like this is why
Exactly.
they say, like, if you have anything to say, speak now, forever hold your peace at weddings, because
Exactly.
there are people in there who are feeling a certain kind of way and they're like, yo, like I can't, like I need to say this, and maybe you won't feel the same way. Please don't wait till somebody's wedding day to do this, but or the day before the wedding either. But like, I feel like being honest with yourself allows you to be honest with other people, and you can't do that without really digging deep and having a conversation with self. So that's that for them. And then of course we have the very ending of the show, which is Ty, giving Zoe the business. Zoe, you know, um, being dressed before Ty even looks up, which is hilarious to me. And then Brandon walking through the door saying, "Honey, your husband is home." And this is how we leave off for episode 2. So much more to come. The first 2 episodes were rough for me. I do have favorite episodes, and I'll let you know when we get to those. But please give
Mm-hmm.
me comments, your thoughts. Are you excited now that you've seen the first 2 episodes? Do you want more? Be real, be honest with us. Tell us your thoughts and your feedback. We're here to listen.
Join
Until
the conversation.
Yeah, join the conversation and tell us what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And also be sure to check out our interviews that will be posted later on, after, or sometime before or after. But we hope that you enjoyed the review, and we will see you again next week for episodes 3 and 4. Peace.
See ya.